Welcome everybody. My name's Scott Hebbard from Sparx Systems, and today we're looking at application portfolio management using Sparx Systems Prolaborate. It's great to have you all here today, and it's fantastic to have another webinar on the books where we're looking at the Sparx Systems Enterprise Architecture platform, and in particular we're looking at Prolaborate. So we're going to have a look at how the Sparx Systems Enterprise Architecture platform can help organizations to manage, visualize, and govern your application landscape. So in enterprise architecture, application portfolio management is one of the most essential frameworks for enterprises to start with. It brings transparency across the application layer and reduces the decision fatigue introduced by rapidly shifting priorities, goals, and objectives. This shift has further extended with recent advancements in areas such as AI. So here's our agenda for today. And in this webinar, we'll see how the Sparx Systems Enterprise Architecture platform helps organizations answer the questions that drive smarter technology decisions. First, let us discuss application portfolio management, why organizations need it, what it offers, and then we're going to look at some of the common business queries that it answers that traditionally would take months to resolve. And it's much nicer when you can see it all laid out on the screen in Prolaborate. We'll dive deeper into two specific business queries and see how Sparx Systems Architecture Platform helps an enterprise architect answer these queries and present them to business stakeholders. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session at the end where users will be addressed, time permitting. The first thing we're going to look at is what is application portfolio management. So surveys across organizations indicate that their enterprise architecture fails because the time to value generation takes too long, and most businesses do not see the value generated by the enterprise architecture practice. To address this challenge, application portfolio management was introduced. It primarily focuses on the application landscape and application rationalization, which have now been extended towards application modernization and AI governance use cases. So APM brings transparency across the enterprise regarding who owns an application, how much it costs for a department to operate it. Knowing who else uses these applications, along with other key data points, is critical for making timely decisions. The last thing you want to do is sunset or kill off an application that's being used in business critical applications, and everything falls apart. The application inventory helps identify redundancies by using data points such as business fit and technical fit, and enterprises can decide which application should be tolerated, invested in, migrated, or eliminated altogether. But you don't want to do this without having a good understanding of the impact that these decisions will have on the rest of the enterprise. And this kind of decision-making positions the enterprise to align its planning with its strategic objectives, helping to optimize operational costs and reinvest in business-critical applications and goals. And the great thing is that the Sparx Systems application suite, including Prolaborate, which we're going to show today, allows you to manage this process. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is some of the common questions organizations need answered. So we begin by looking at some of the most common question or business queries that can be answered using our application portfolio management guided approach. APM helps business stakeholders with everything from simple application landscape ownership questions, such as which applications exist in portfolios and who owns them, to application rationalization queries, such as which application should be decommissioned. It even assists with what-if analysis queries for complex situations, such as what will be the total cost savings and which business capabilities will be left unsupported if we retired all applications currently identified as having a low functional fit but a high total cost of ownership. We'll dive deep into 2 use cases, or not to confuse real world examples in this webinar, to understand how these kind of business queries are answered by the Sparx Systems architecture platform, and how we can use Prolaborate to better understand the application portfolio that we're using, what some of the issues are, what some of the problems are, and how we can address those. So, understanding the ecosystem. We must understand some of the basics of the platform itself. So the Sparx Systems Architecture Platform is a holistic SaaS application that offers a unified view for modelers, architects, and business users. Modelers who create detailed architecture diagrams can use the design tool, so Enterprise Architect, while stakeholders or business users can consume the models, can use the collaboration view, which is Prolaborate. So on screen, you can see we have our Enterprise Architect. Now, there might be many people in the audience today that have used a client-based version of Enterprise Architect. This is being delivered in a SaaS environment, so you can access it in a browser. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the meta model in Enterprise Architect. So let's understand the meta model for APM, which is an out-of-the-box accelerator from Sparx Systems, shown here modeled in Enterprise Architect. This is a lean meta model that's curated for the application portfolio management use case, where all of the artifacts essential for detailing the application landscape and rationalization are all captured within Enterprise Architect. So you can see the meta model, we've opened it here. These details are available both in the Enterprise Architect that you can see here, and also in the collaborator view, which is going to be found in Prolaborate. So the application artifact has several properties, and some of them are predefined. For example, audience type classifies the user base based on specific groups. In the modeler view, a user can view all the details associated with an application. The lifecycle property captures the application's current state. These details help visualization in the application roadmap. So for the stakeholder, they could view the live data, which is shown here in Prolaborate. So I'm just going to, what we've done is we're viewing the model in Enterprise Architect. We've now switched to Prolaborate. And so for the stakeholder view, they can view the live data updated here, can be viewed by modelers in the other view. Here, the data is presented based on roles for a business user and a limited set of properties which are critical, and those will be shown. So you can see here we have our application, and you've got your life cycle, and it's being displayed here in Prolaborate. And you can see you have your environment, your life cycle, and now we're switching back to Enterprise Architect, and you can see that those are attributes modeled there. So some of the important things to note is that any changes that are made to the model within Enterprise Architect are instantly displayed within Prolaborate, so your users are getting up-to-date information. And this means that for stakeholders, they can view live data, and any data that's updated in the model is available to anyone that's viewing this information within Prolaborate. So here the data is presented based on roles for a business user, and only a limited set of critical properties will be shown. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is have a look at our dashboards. And so I'm just going to bring up our dashboard here. So within Prolaborate, we have our enterprise application portfolio dashboard that's shown. You can see there's some cards up the top which tell us information about, the percentage of applications to eliminate, sunset, TCO, so total cost of ownership, outlook, and a range of other things. So this out-of-the-box dashboard for APM. This dashboard covers the most common business queries related to the application landscape, from the total cost of percentage of applications that need to be eliminated. All such details are presented so that no one overlooks this important information. The dashboard also has an application lifecycle roadmap and a Gartner time chart. We'll have a look at these reports in more detail. It also includes an application inventory view, a landscape chart that classifies applications based on their domain and subdomain, and a matrix view to present cross-references to business users. Additionally, there is an application-to-application integration view to see which applications are consumer and which are provider, and much more information. So we're now going to drill into this dashboard in a little bit more detail, and I'm going to start with the roadmap. So the lifecycle roadmap chart, which is shown on screen, from a business and enterprise architecture perspective, an application lifecycle roadmap is vital for mitigating the risks associated with technical debt and vendor sunsetting. It provides stakeholders with a clear timeline of when applications will transition from active use to retirement, ensuring that the organization can plan investments and transitions without disrupting core business operations. In this view, users can see each stage of an application, its current state, by hovering over a particular state. Users can view specific details about that phase, and they can navigate to the full details of the application with a single click. The roadmap is generated based on the underlying data that we showed before, that's visible and accessible by both modelers and architects. Additionally, from the application details page, users can access collaboration features, traceability, and other critical insights. So you can see here, we can have discussions, and we can look at traceability and a range of other things. So after we've had a look at the roadmap, the next thing that we're going to look at is the Gartner time diagram. And you can see the time analysis is just on the right of screen there. So a Gartner time chart is a cornerstone of application rationalization, providing a strategic lens to evaluate the health and value of an entire software estate. From an enterprise architecture perspective, it transforms complex technical and business data into clear, actionable roadmap, allowing leaders to objectively identify which applications drive growth and which are simply draining resources. You can see that there's a basic chart on screen. So time, for those people that are not aware, represents tolerate, invest, migrate, and eliminate. So tolerate, which is in the top left, applications with a high technical fit but lower functional value. These are maintained but not prioritized for investment. In the top right, you have invest, applications with both high technical and high functional fit. These are both core drivers of business values. On the bottom right, you have applications with high functional value but poor technical fit. These should be moved to better platforms or modernized. And finally, you have eliminate. So that's the bottom left, so applications with both low technical and low functional fit, and these are prime candidates for decommissioning. So all of these charts are built on live data, and you'll remember at the beginning of the webinar, I showed how all of this data is modeled in Enterprise Architect, and all of this live data is updated and reflected in the charts and the dashboard shown. The next thing that we're going to have a look at is our application inventory. So we'll go back into Prolaborate. So we have our charts, and you can see our application inventory. So the application inventory views a series of foundational single source of truth for the organization. From a business and enterprise architecture perspective, it provides necessary visibility to eliminate information silos and establish a clear baseline of what software exists, who's using it, and how it's governed. This transparency is the first step towards effective governance, compliance, and risk management. An application inventory is the most essential tool for the effective management of the application landscape. It is the most simplified view that every enterprise team would like to use when beginning their architecture journey. The Excel-like interface allows stakeholders to filter data based on specific properties, update values, directly hide or show columns from property lists, and even share or download the data. So this kind of format is something that most business users are very, very familiar with, and it's very easy to use. So we can clearly see, which data is business critical. We can see which hosting types are used, and much, much more. The next thing we're going to look at is the domain-based application. So this is another part of our dashboard, and for each of these diagrams, I'm simply hitting expand so I can drill down into the particular aspect of the diagram and the chart to learn a little bit more. So the application landscape chart is vital for aligning technology with business structure. From a business and enterprise architecture perspective, it maps the application state directly to the business capabilities it supports, revealing exactly where technology investments are concentrated and where gaps exist. So we can drill down on B2B, corporate, customer, data, IT, and so forth. This macro level view is essential for ensuring that the IT portfolio evolves in lockstep with the organization's functional domains. It offers a holistic view of the application portfolio from both the domain and subdomain perspective, one of the key insights every enterprise architect needs when presenting to stakeholders. This chart represents very insightful details about each application and its contribution to different business domains, and the legend allows us to identify specific domains and focus on it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to look at identifying applications to decommission. So one of the most important things you'll do in your application portfolio management journey is identify which applications you want to decommission. Now, you might decommission because they are no longer of value, you want to save money, but of course you don't want to decommission an application and all of a sudden have business critical parts of your enterprise fall over or collapse. So it's really important to be able to identify the impact of this decommissioning process. So essentially what we're doing here is we're answering this business query: which application should we decommission and what is the impact on the business? So in this first example, it's about identifying applications to decommission and the associated impact. One of the most common business queries is which application should we replace? And if we do so, what are the impacts on the business and non-business transactions? Let us see how we can identify such data using the tools available. We'll begin with the application lifecycle roadmap chart, which is shown on screen, since it offers both the current and future states along with their timelines. It is one of the best tools for finding outliers, and specifically which applications are about to move from an active to a sunset state. Now, the thing that we're going to focus on is this application churn. So churn is one of these applications which is about to go from active to a sunset state. So let us view its details further and see its impact on the business. The criticality rating highlights that it's business critical application that is currently in production. From the time chart, we can understand its importance because it is in the top right quadrant. It indicates that this application must be reinvested in rather than simply eliminated. We need to explore its details further to understand the best path forward. We can visit the application inventory to gather more details about the application. Additionally, we can use other tools to conduct a what-if analysis and understand the potential impact. By applying a filter at the dashboard level, we can isolate all business critical applications. This allows us to see if this specific application interacts with any other business critical systems. As we can see from the application integration view shown on screen, none of the other business critical applications are impacted. To get a holistic understanding of the impact, we can use the impact analyzer view. And so we shall have a look at that next. And the impact analyzer view allows us to look at this application churn and see what it interacts with. So we shall scroll down and have a look. And here we have our application integration. So let's drop in and have a look at that. So this view presents all the elements connected at the first level. We can see here that churn interacts with 3 other applications and several other application services. It shows the specific nature of the interactions between each of these services. So using the impact analyzer, we can build a multi-level visualizations to further analyze ripple effects across our entire architecture. So this view can be saved and downloaded as an image for further reporting. So based on this analysis, users can initiate a discussion directly on the application by tagging other users in the discussion. Those individuals are notified by in-app notifications and emails, ensuring a collaborative and timely decision-making process. So you can see here at Andy Max, we need to discuss about these investments and replace it. So not only do you get great charts and great up-to-date information, but the collaboration features are all integrated into the tool, which allows you to discuss all of your decisions with other members of the team and have a collaborative process and make sure that you have timely decision-making process where all key stakeholders are notified and kept well informed. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to have a look at application costs by domain and subdomain. So we will step into that briefly. But as you can see, all the communication is handled by Prolaborate. So our next use case or example focuses on determining the total cost of applications within a particular domain or subdomain. From a meta model perspective, applications are part of subdomains and subdomains are part of domains. We previously saw this structure in the landscape chart. So let us start with the landscape chart again, where you can see that applications are organized. So calculating the spending for each domain or subdomain is essential for optimizing the overall budget for each area. So let us move to a dedicated dashboard built for cost analysis. So this dashboard contains reports that are specific to domains and subdomains, providing all the necessary financial details. So we'll have a look at that now. So I'm having a look at under dashboards, the total cost of applications. So you can filter applications based on certain criteria and share the view with external business users who may not have the platform access, but need to view the application details. When these external users access a report, they can see the application list without logging in. They can still apply filters and even view specific properties in detail by clicking on an application. So for a cost review with a specific department, an enterprise architect can create a formal review by creating and selecting the required applications and assigning them to a department. A review can be scheduled with a specific start and end date, and by picking the right contributors and selecting the right artifacts. And finally, the moderator view provides a holistic view of the reviews process, from comments added to approval status, and much, much more. So we can share a filtered report, and users can initiate discussions on specific artifacts and review these things in much more detail. So these discussions can include priority levels, and all participants automatically notified of new activity. And furthermore, review participants can download the full review for compliance purposes and archive the report for future reference. So some of the things that we've looked at today, we've looked at a number of different dashboards. We have looked at time charts, roadmaps, application inventories. We've seen how you can collaborate and share and exchange information with your team. We can review the total cost of business critical apps. We've been able to communicate, and all of this is based on live data that's been modeled within Enterprise Architect, and we've been able to view that information within Prolaborate itself. And not only have we been able to see, which applications are about to sunset, but we've also been able to analyze the cost review and been able to see how much these applications cost. And then we've been able to communicate this information with members of the team, and to be able to keep everybody informed and up to date. So here we're sharing our review and the total cost of business critical apps. And we can see there's an active review, there's 4 days left. And once again, we are specifying that this is high priority, and we're posting this information so people in the team are well aware of what's going on. You can see up the top that notifications are given so that people know what information and when they've been sent alerts or messages from other members of the team. And on screen, you've got your report preview, which can be shared. So that brings us to an end of the session. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them to the chat, and we'll address them shortly. And if we don't get a chance to address them in the live session today, we will most definitely follow up with the team and provide a more comprehensive response. If you want to jumpstart your APM journey, you can scan the QR code that's shown on your screen at the moment. It will direct you to a comprehensive library of reference materials and accelerators, which are free to access. So don't let decision fatigue or time to value hurdles hold your architecture practice back. We encourage you to download the APM, so the Application Portfolio Management Accelerator, today, and begin mapping your landscape. If you're looking for a personalized walkthrough or want to see how these tools fit your specific enterprise environment, feel free to reach out to our team. And you can request a dedicated demo where some of this information that's been talked about in a generic sense can be tailored to your specific domain or environment. And let's transform your application portfolio into a strategic asset together. Okay, so I am now going to just jump into some questions. So the first question is, will this be made available? And so yes, this will be made available on the Sparx Systems website, and will also be made available on the YouTube channel. And so it will be made available soon. And next question is about the costing of the APM. So using the logo which I showed before, so using this QR code, you can reach out to the team if you would like to find out about costings for Prolaborate and for the SaaS deployment. And so quotes can be organized and arranged for those things. And the APM capabilities can also be talked about, and you can talk about the meta model and how to download those. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance, and we'll follow up on some of these questions offline. Thank you for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you at future webinars. We'll be talking about the new Torado system in the next webinar, so those webinar details should be published today. And so looking forward to chatting to you again. Thanks for your time, and we'll leave it there.